Why do thousands flee in fear when the new peaceful Taliban is here? Hi, I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, and this episode of Right Angles brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, the Taliban have rapidly exercised their dominion over Afghanistan, which they have dubbed the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. As they stormed into Kabul without a shot, apparently, they were able to immediately seize control of all of the organs of government, including the media. However, this time around, the Taliban seems to have adopted a PR strategy that, at least initially, seems bound to position them as more moderate so that people at the United Nations won't be startled. In fact, there was an official from UNICEF that was saying we're cautiously optimistic at this point. Let me give you some examples of what Taliban spokesman, the Taliban spokesman is saying. And frankly, they were interviewed on Afghan news with a female presenter, as they call them over there, presenters. They said the Taliban is committed to the rights of women under the system of Sharia law. They expect that women will be able to work and study, quote, within our frameworks. They want to be working shoulder to shoulder with women, invited them to be involved in the government. They said, we've pardoned all of those who fought against us. Afghanistan is no longer a battlefield of conflict. There will be no discrimination, specifically sex discrimination. They don't want women to be victims anymore. And by the way, Steve Green, the media can remain private and independent. Oh, hang on a second. But should not work against national values. Steve Green, I guess if we were taking bets on how long this kind of language would hold up, would your confidence in the new let's teach the world to sing Taliban, would that range from minutes to hours to days, weeks, months, or years?
Yeah, I've noticed as I've gotten older that my drinking habits are starting to wear on me more. I'm not sleeping as well. I'm groggier in the morning, and that the scotch, the martinis, the margaritas just aren't doing me any good. And I'm going to quit drinking within the confines of having a 5 p.m. cocktail. I'm going to quit drinking within the confines of having a glass or two of red wine with dinner. And of course, I will quit drinking within the confines of a bedtime brandy. Did I cover everything?
Seems reasonable.
He's a virtual teetotaler.
Really admire your willpower.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to quit drinking so much that I'm going to have absolutely no Bloody Marys with my breakfast, except on those occasions when I do, which will be frequent.
A toast to Steve Green's stopping drinking.
Huzzah, say us all.
Cheers.
So,
somebody put pineapple juice in my pineapple juice.
No, you've got more. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me give you maybe a slightly more serious answer here, because we've just been so thoroughly humiliated on the world stage that I've got to say something more than just being glib about it, although I wrote so much about it yesterday for PJ Media that I think I worked a lot of that out. The Taliban are the Taliban. That's not going to change. Sharia is Sharia. That's not going to change. Women are not going to be educated. The women that are educated, I just saw a tweet on Instapunt earlier, women are burning their high school graduation diplomas and their college degrees, hoping that Taliban won't find them hanging on the walls as they go door to door looking for signs of educated women. There will be reprisals. They will be ugly. We all know this. What boggles my mind is the left's eagerness to at least to pretend to believe this stuff. Oh, hey, they're saying all the right things. Khomeini said all the right things in 1978. We know what happened. Saddam Hussein used to say all the right things when he was trying to get military aid during his war from us, war with Iran from us. In the 1980s, we see this again and again. I'm going to change. I'm going to be better. I'm going to stop beating you. And the left laps it up, or at least they pretend to lap it up. And what I think I've realized is they pretend to lap it up because they admire these guys who have been ruthless and accomplished in a way that the American left has not yet been.
Bill Whittle, I know that your episode this week of Right Angle is going to focus on other aspects of the collapse of Afghanistan in the face of the Taliban's, sort of military, non-military assault. But it just struck me when I listened to this. What was the guy's name? Baghdad Bob? Who
I cannot believe you said that, because that's exactly precisely where I was going to go with it.
Take it away. Go ahead.
Yeah, it sure is. I wrote the Cold War. I don't want to give too much of my episode away. I wrote the Cold War segment a couple of years ago, and I thought I'm never going to see a disgrace again like watching the helicopters on the roof of Saigon. And then many years later, we look at Desert Storm, and we thought, my God, we finally learned our lessons. We know how to do this. We actually know how to do what we used to know how to do, which is fight and win wars. And I was thinking about Baghdad Bob, who was constantly on the air, as you may remember, in the early days of the Iraq War, assuring everyone that the Americans were hundreds of miles away, as you heard the sounds of tanks rattling past behind him in the studio, American tanks. Well, you can only imagine my pride to feel the exact same sensations listening to an American administration say, no, 90 days at least. There's not a Taliban member within 100 miles of Kabul airport. It's a failure so spectacular you don't even know where to begin, and which is why it really seems to me to be a Gordian knot problem, Scott. But back to the Taliban statement. This is a sound of people who are making a statement like this for, as Steve said, for the left to ingest. The left will believe it. And the simple reason that the left will believe this is because the left always believes any protestations of peace, whether it comes from the communists, and they believed it when it came from the Nazis. Hitler doesn't want to take over Europe. No, it's a backyard issue. He's just got a few internal things. And all of this rhetoric about taking over the world in mass race is just to appease his people. He's a reasonable guy. Why do they continue to buy this? They continue to buy this because the alternative to this is to realize that you are dealing with people out there who are cold-blooded mass murderers, and that means you have to fight them. And if you're going to be a coward in life, then you don't want to fight them. Then anything that tells you don't have to fight them is something you're going to hang on to like a parachute deploying out of the back of a C-17. This is why they believe it. And this is why Lenin referred to these people as useful idiots, because Lenin understood that you could tell lies to people who wanted to believe these lies because of their cowardice, because of the fear they have of understanding that, no, these people are not our friends. No. And all of this is true. And it's another form of mirroring. It's another form of understanding that the key to a useful idiot is appealing to their vanity. In other words, what they're saying is, look, the Taliban is coming from a position of 1,200 years of intense religious fervor. And they're talking to people who have no religious fervor and assuring them that what we really want now is we just want to have a couple of hot tubs and sit around with some Chardonnays and talk about, Proust. That's the country that we want to set up now, just exactly the country that you want us to set up too, right? But I'll tell you what else is interesting about this is what they're not doing, and this is something that really needs to be seen in the heart of all this. What they're not doing is crowing loud, because they could be. They could be doing the whole, we kicked the great Satan out and he's gone, and they're not crowing loud. And the reason they're not crowing loud is because for 20 years now, that paper tiger called America has been over there kicking their asses. And they haven't forgotten that. And they're not going to start crowing loud until the last U.S. uniform is out of the country. And when that happens, which won't be long now, then we're going to start to see what they really think and what they really have to say. But as long as there are Americans over there who are not hot tub liberals, they've learned their lesson from these guys. And so they will continue to say the things that they feel they need to say until that last silver bird leaves the country, undoubtedly trailing people behind it. And then will get to hear what they really think and get to see what they really mean.
You know, an abusive spouse is a completely different person when he's trying to get back into the house.
Exactly.
When he wants to move from the sofa to the bed, when he wants to resume normal life, so to speak, in that home, all of a sudden he's the nicest guy in the world who wants to make sure that his wife understands that she's safe and she doesn't have to worry about him, and all of that stuff is in the past. And here's my test, because I don't live in Afghanistan. I have to rely on second and third party witnesses in the media, and they're talking to second and third, generation witnesses, some of whom have connections to Afghanistan. And so I really don't know what's going on there as far as whether the Taliban can be trusted. But I do know this: the women are in hiding. There are thousands of people fleeing. The U.S. said they could probably ferry out 5,000 to 9,000 people a day in airplanes to get them out of Afghanistan. These people know the Taliban. They know the Taliban in a visceral, historical way that I can't possibly appreciate. And the people who know them are leaving and hiding. And so you've got to ask yourself, what does that say to you? Now, as to why the Taliban is making these statements to make them seem like they're so moderate, the German government has already announced that it's going to withhold foreign aid to Afghanistan until it sees what's happening with the government in Afghanistan. This is the only money that the Taliban has to run the country, really, at this point. They've got weapons, they've got drugs, and they've got government money. They don't have industry. And the Taliban is not known for its entrepreneurial zeal in starting small businesses and developing industries and technology and things like that. They are on an island right now, and everything is going to have to come to them from the outside. And so they are playing this massive game of PR suck-up right now in order to keep that cash flowing in there, to assure these foreign governments that everything's going to continue smoothly. The United States of America has spent $780 million over the past 2 decades, not on military stuff in Afghanistan, but on developing and protecting the rights of women. And as a result of that effort and the efforts of the Afghan women and some supportive men in that country, women are police officers, and women are engineers, and women are Olympic competitors, and women are involved in government because of that expense of treasure from the United States and elsewhere. That will be money down the drain if we all are convinced by this message from the new Taliban that they have suddenly changed. Their Quran has not changed. Their Sharia has not changed. Their guidelines for living their life have not changed, and we should not be fooled. For Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making Right Angle possible.